Hello YouTube and welcome to the comparison as well as to the review of the Sony 70-200mm f2.8 G Master and the Sony 70-200mm f4. Sony's price on their website is a bit utopian with almost $3,000 for the 2.8 version and almost $1,700 for the f4 version. But keep your eyes open. The lenses are significantly cheaper in local shops than stated on the manufacturer's website. 70-200mm are always good. I like to use the focal lengths for weddings, press events, as well as for portraits and film work. The main difference are of course the price, which is related to the aperture, and the weight. Let's start with the bodies. The main difference of course is the weight. The 70-200mm f2.8 presses with almost 1500 grams, which is 3.3 pounds on your biceps, and the f4 version with only 950 grams, which is 2.1 pounds. Both measured with the tripod clamp. The tripod mount is included, can be removed from both lenses, and can be rotated 360 degrees. On the side you have 4 switches. Most important ones for the autofocus and manual focus, so as for the image stabilizer with its 2 modes. You can find more information on the manufacturer's website regarding the modes. If you want to use a filter, make sure to get one with a 72mm thread for the f4 version and a 77mm filter for the f2.8 version. You can zoom with half a turn of the hand, and both lenses and the focus ring runs very soft on both lenses if you want to focus manually. A big disadvantage of the f4 version compared to the 2.8 version is that you cannot use a teleconverter. The lens hood of the 2.8 version has a small hatch to change the strength of a polarizing or ND filter if you plan to use any of these filters for your lens. You will find some sort of chromatic aberrations if you shoot wide open. At f2.8 there is a magenta shimmer on the close-up range. Using the f4 version you have less problems with that. Make sure to use Adobe Lightroom to fix this issue within a few seconds. Flaring is a bit more pronounced in the middle of the 2.8 version, and using the f4 version it is more noticeable at the edges, in my opinion. But see yourself. Let us come to the next topic, vignetting. At f2.8 you have dark edges. You should stop down to f4 or even 5.6 to minimize these dark edges. Or just use Adobe Lightroom and problem solved. Of course the f4 version has dark edges at its widest aperture as well, but at f5.6 these have almost disappeared. If you have problems with this, I recommend using Adobe Lightroom. This is the zoom from 70-200mm and back again. As a small reference, mind the crop factor of 1.5 for APS-C cameras. Both models are equipped with an optical image stabilizer. These following pictures were all taken freehand. In my opinion, both lenses are doing a fantastic job. The f4 version is much more stable in the hand due to its lightweight and compact design. A considerable advantage of the 2.8 version is the closest focusing distance of 96 centimeters, which is 3.1 feet, at all focal length. That's how I understood it, at least if I read the data from the manufacturer's website correctly. means that you can get nicer close-ups with an even nicer bokeh due to the faster aperture and the extended focal length of 200mm than with the F4 version. The cheaper version focuses at 1.3 meters or 3.4 feet at 200mm. If you ever wanted to do street photography using a telephoto lens, I guess you have more fun with the F4 version due to its lightweight and because it's simply more compact than the 2.8 version. It depends a bit on whether you need a faster aperture, but if you're often out in the dark, the 2.8 version makes more sense. When tracking, I only noticed a tiny difference when taking pictures of animals. There I actually had a more precise focus on the eyes with the F4 version. While filming, I did not see any difference. These shots were all taken from freehand. The autofocus was set to continuous and the focus field was wide. Yes, what I basically love about my Sony lenses is that they are all sharp and crisp. I have taken 5 photos for you at different aperture settings, once at 70mm and once at 200mm. In general, you can say the following. The F4 version is a bit softer at the edges, at least wide open. The f2.8 version does a much better job even at its widest aperture. In normal use you won't notice that unless you zoom in completely and take a close look at the corners. For press photographers, the 70 to 200mm is an essential lens for their work. The F4 version is easier to hold, weighs less, and the compact format makes daily work easier. But you know yourself that you can end up in the dark, which requires a faster aperture. The less you have to push the ISO, the better the image quality. If you earn your money with it and can't always rely on the best lighting conditions, you should go for the f2.8 version. If your next trip to Africa is coming and you might be going on safari, how about a telephoto lens? There's no difference in focal length between these two lenses, but when traveling, space and weight naturally plays a role. Since many safaris are most fun in daylight, I would say that the F4 version is completely sufficient. As soon as you want to watch elephants or deers in the dark, yes, then you're making a better deal with the f2.8 version. Less ISO means better results. The choice is entirely up to you. Let's get to the most beautiful part, the bokeh, so the blur background. You will get the most beautiful bokeh using the 2.8 version, that's for sure. The bokeh of the F4 version is also very soft, but not as soft as with the more expensive version of this focal length. I've also filmed a lot for you, have fun watching the following scenes. Let's summarize. The advantages and disadvantages are obvious. The 2.8 version is much more expensive, weighs more and is a bit bigger. But you get more light, sharper pictures and shooting wide open, a more beautiful bokeh. The cheaper version is more compact, weighs less and starts at f4. I think if you're a hobby photographer and you want to take great pictures of animals or portraits, the f4 version is perfectly sufficient. Sure, for weddings the 2.8 version makes more sense because the light in churches is not always ideal. But what do you think about these lenses? Maybe you had the chance to use both of them. I'm sure that many viewers will be happy about the further feedback. Thanks for your attention. If you're ever in Frankfurt, you can borrow the 2.8 version from gm-foto to test it. Until then, all the best and see you very soon.